Nathan Thompson is continuing his verbal assault on random strangers and at the same time showing off his scientific ineptitude and his quite frankly astounding cherry picking skills. Let's take a look.
Can I ask you a question? Do you guys arrest people who don't wear a mask?
Nope.
Nope. Sweet. See you later.
This I just find obnoxious and offensive. While it may not be illegal to not wear a mask, we are in the midst of a global pandemic that's killing many, many people. Masks have been scientifically proven to help prevent the spread of the virus, especially since 99% or so is stored in the droplets, the large droplets exiting the body as opposed to the smaller airborne particles. Couple that with the fact that out of people that are currently infected with COVID, up to a third of them show no symptoms whatsoever. And no wonder it's spreading, has been spreading like a wildfire and continues to do so. It's not much to ask people to wear a mask when it could indeed save a life. The chances are very high that it will do so. Stop being obnoxious. Stop saying that you're being gagged, that it's a problem with your breathing, or stop, and this goes out especially to your cohort on this channel, Nathan, stop pretending you have a medical condition, knowing that you're going to get into an altercation or a verbal brawl entering these shops, and that's why you walk in with your camera going, just to try and get some views. You're endangering lives, okay? This is no longer a joke. Well, it hasn't been for a year. It's very serious, and it needs to stop.
Did anyone feel like we were flying around a ball? Because it didn't feel like we were flying around a ball to me.
No, Nathan, it doesn't feel like you're flying around a ball. But at the same time, once you're at cruising altitude and speed, it doesn't feel like you're traveling at 547 to 575 miles per hour. As per usual, you do raise an interesting question that can be answered with a bit of research and understanding. During a flight, depending on which way the plane is traveling, there is a set altitude that they aim to maintain to avoid mid-air collisions with other planes. There are several tools at the pilot's disposal. One of them, for example, is an altimeter that uses air pressure to work out the altitude of the plane. Because of this, whether it's the pilot or the autopilot in control at a given moment, the plane is constantly being adjusted to maintain this altitude. Because of the constant minor adjustments and the maintaining of said altitude, you're not going to notice that you're flying around a ball. However, people that have flown over Antarctica certainly did notice that they didn't hit a firmament, and in fact carried on over to the other side and continued to follow the curve, not just flew off into empty space. Although obviously you don't believe space exists either.
You guys think the Earth spins? Does it spin under airplanes? That's right, it doesn't spin under airplanes, because Earth doesn't spin.
Oh, congratulations, Nathan, on actually getting something half right. Yeah, it doesn't spin underneath the airplane. Sadly, it's not, as you stated, because the Earth doesn't spin. It's because everything on the Earth, including the atmosphere, spins with it. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of a drag with the atmosphere, but everything that is within the gravitational pull does rotate with the Earth.
Look, how to walk through the airport without wearing a mask. Just hold an empty water bottle.
Nathan. It looks like you're using deceit so you don't have to wear a mask. I thought you always preached against lying. If you're doing this, you know that what you're doing is wrong, and you're ashamed by it or embarrassed by it. Otherwise, why would you try to hide it? I think that really does speak to your character in general.
Can I ask you guys a question since you're engineers? How do you have gas pressure without a container? Never heard this one, huh?
Who's that?
That's me, right there.
Okay, yeah,
That's you.
That's your friend.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a video where you ask someone's permission before you start filming them, or even let them know that you're filming, in general before striking up a conversation. I know that, in a lot of states, as long as you're part of the conversation, then you can record it without anyone else's permission legally. But just as a common courtesy, wouldn't you normally ask someone their permission? And especially, since a lot of your videos, you're just invading someone's day. There's videos of you asking people at the park, or just, when they're out and about. I think one of them was, the bloke was just pulling up about to visit his sick mother. Now, granted, you couldn't have known that his mother's sick, but clearly, he's going about his business. There's a time and a place, and it seems that you're in the wrong place most of the time.
So I wanted to ask the engineers how we have gas pressure without a container. Is it possible?
We have atmospheric pressure.
So atmospheric pressure is gas pressure, right? Okay, so how do you have gas pressure without a container?
Well, this is a usual flat earth argument. Actually, you don't need a container for gas pressure. Gas pressure is simply the gas or air molecules bouncing off a container to be measured. But you don't need that container for that pressure to exist. The air around you is, at pressure because of the column of atmosphere above you, and that's, being pulled down by gravity. So no, you don't need a container for gas pressure, or indeed atmospheric pressure. Look at stars, which are balls of gas, actually plasma, because of how hot, how much the gas has been heated, but that is all held together and drawn in by gravity, and there's no container that you can see around those either.
You're just gonna say the atmosphere has no container and have zero proof?
Actually, we've got plenty of proof. Everything that gets launched into space, manages to do so without hitting a container. Obviously, and we've got pictures of the Earth from space that don't show a container either. Of course, you flat earthers don't believe in space, but it just begs the question. I mean, how many things actually have to be fake for, your model to work? This is why you don't believe in space. You don't believe in gravity. All concepts that have been proven and understood for many, many years. So, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of proof. It's just whether you guys will accept it or not.
That the atmosphere doesn't have a container? Because I say the atmosphere does have a container. It's called the firmament. God talked about it in the Bible, but people don't accept the Bible because they read textbooks written from man.
The Bible was also written by men over many hundreds of years. And there's also, the argument for incorrect translations through the years, and, changes when some parts of the Bible have been lost and rewritten using, the scraps that they could find. So even if it was the word of God originally passed down to man, it has then been changed through the years as well. So, I'm not going to argue on whether God exists or not. But I will, state the point that the Bible was clearly written by men as well. And, men can make mistakes. Science textbooks, on the other hand, they've been written by men. But these are experiments that have been tried and proven over and over and over again. This is the advancement we have made as a species.
That said, you don't need a container to have gas pressure. Now that's nonsensical, because every demonstration of gas pressure on Earth has a container.
We don't need a container to know that pressure is there, and it doesn't have to be inside a container either. We can measure pressure on the outside of a container. All we need to know is the force of the pressure, which is basically the mass. If it was coming straight down, it's the mass by the gravitational acceleration, and then the surface area of the object that it's hitting, and we can calculate that pressure. Same way how we can just use a barometer to measure atmospheric pressure at different altitudes. The whole, has to be inside a container is just a misunderstanding of science. That is the simple explanation to explain gas pressure, but it is not, the only definition for air pressure, and it's not the only way we can measure it.
The only one you could think of was the atmosphere, because you believe in space, right? I don't believe in space. I think they're faking it.
Of course you do, because if they were faking the space, that would help go towards your possible flat Earth theory. If space is real, which it is, it basically debunks your model. So again, of course you believe space is fake, just like you believe gravity doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Not really. I got 144,000 people in the Flat Earth group that I run. So it's like bigger than any coliseum in the world.
There's 7.8 trillion people in the world as of, I think, middle of last year. Obviously, with the pandemic, that's gone down a fraction. But if we went with the 7.8 trillion, it's estimated as of October of 2020, they estimated about 59% of the world's population had access to the internet. That would take it down to 4.6 trillion people. And if you go with your 144,000 subscriber base, that is 0.000031% of the world's population that's part of the Flat Earth group. So, thankfully, most people are still in their right mind and actually believe what all of the scientific evidence shows us.
And we're all testing Earth ourselves.
Unfortunately, all these tests are performed with a poor or non-existent understanding of the scientific principle.
And there's no measurable curvature. So second question to the engineers, is water a natural level or not? How high?
With regards to how high you got to be to see Earth's curve, it's a little under 35,000 feet, as long as it's optimal conditions, during a nice clear day with an unobstructed around 60-degree field of view. As for the rest, the very definition of sea level is the level of the sea, or level of the sea's surface. There is nothing in the definition that says it has to be flat. Obviously, we live on a globe, an oblate spheroid. Everything's being pulled towards the center of mass, so the water is going to flow around the Earth. It is going to curve with the Earth. You're not going to see it with the naked eye. We just, again, our senses aren't acute enough to detect it. And that's why we have instruments for it, to help measure things like this. If you're, trying to do it yourself, standing on the beach looking out at the horizon, you might see a few miles worth of horizon. And, the amount of curvature in feet is going to be in the single digits. If you were looking at a 3.5 mile section, let's say 3.5, that's over 17,500 feet, of section, and, probably be less than, there's probably like 7 or 8 feet of curve. You're not going to notice that, in such a massive amount. And this is why, just the whole flat Earth argument of, well, you can't see the curve, it just doesn't make sense. They're just thinking too small. You have to realize just how tiny we are compared to the world we live on. I mean, most of it is water. There's 7.8 trillion people on the globe. It's just the numbers are mind-boggling when you think about it. Well, that's about all the Nathan Thompson I can handle for today. It's been a long ride. Hopefully you enjoyed the video today. Please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of any future content. And please feel free to leave me a comment if you have any thoughts on the video or any questions. If you would like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon and PayPal, which will be in the description, but please don't feel you have to. Just the like of a subscribe is more than enough. Thank you for joining me today, and please stay safe.